It's 8:01. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start with roll call. Kelly, that's me. Alex Zacharias.
Present.
Randy Scannell.
Here.
Matt Buchanan.
Here.
Kent Hutchison.
Here.
Our liaisons, Beth Lemke, Paul Grawl, and Matt Vanden Boomen. Not present. Approval of the agenda from the October 23rd meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right, we're passed. Let's say that, right?
Sure.
Okay.
We're past it now.
It was so fast.
We also, okay, that was the approval of our agenda. Approval of the minutes from September 25th.
So
meeting.
moved.
Second.
Oh, and you should say who approved, who made the motion.
Oh,
So they got
So
it.
first, moved by Randy, seconded by Alex. All in favor?
Aye.
That looks like a successful endeavor. All right, are we all caught up down there? Yep. So on to regular business, consideration with possible action on a request by Alderman Chris Weary to discuss whether the city should require development agreements to include funds for public art, and if so, what level, amount, percentage it should be.
I spoke with Alder Weary, or texted Alder Weary, asking him what he expected from this. And all he wanted was to be able to speak at this at council. So I don't know if he really cares what we do with this, and I don't know why we just wouldn't approve what the RDA has done. So I make a motion that we approve.
Well, hold, 1 second. Laura, did you say that Celestine actually wanted to weigh in on this?
Yep, so Celestine isn't feeling well this morning, but she wanted me to ring her in, so I'm just gonna
Oh.
put her on speakerphone. I don't know exactly what she wanted to speak on, but
Yeah,
at least include her in on the conversation.
it's not nice.
That's a good one. That's a good response.
In the car. Anymore?
Celestine's on speaker here.
Don't know how unwell she is.
Nine, two, zero, five, four, four.
She must not have wanted to weigh in that badly.
And I don't know what
Or
is.
she's feeling very poorly, one or the other.
Yeah, I don't know what there is to wait, and I don't even know why this is here, to tell you the truth, because although we could have spoke at this when it was reported out by the RDA, having us, I don't know what he expects to gain, or, this is an RDA decision. Council has no authority. We have no authority. So I really don't understand what's going on here.
Laura, was there any discussion in the preparation of the agenda what the possible action was?
No, pretty much what Randy said. So since the resolution came out of RDA, it's really up to RDA. We can't alter that resolution at all. More or less, we can support RDA's decision.
Right.
But that's really all that.
That's what I was gonna suggest. I would make a suggestion that we consider, essentially the way I'm interpreting this is, do we support RDA's ability to require development agreements? And if so, what level? But I would say that, yes, we agree and support them and at the level that the RDA recommends.
So is the possible action here to get a consensus of support?
I think so.
All right, would someone like to make a motion to that?
Well, I think maybe we should up it. RDA said 1%. Let's give the council something to talk about. Let's say 200%.
Yes, to answer your question, Kelly, I will make a motion that the GBPAC supports the recommendations of development agreements, and if so, the level at which the RDA suggests.
And I second that.
Great, so motion from Kent and a second from Alex, all in favor. Nope, you vote on your pads. Oh, we vote on our pads.
Hello, Celestine.
Hey, how are you?
Oh,
They're just voting on it right now.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, that was super quick.
Did you have anything important you think needed to be added to the conversation?
Just why don't you just tell me, where it went? So what's the vote? What are they voting on?
They're voting to approve RDA's decision to adopt the resolution.
Support it.
To support it.
To support it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Oh, that was super quick. Like, I just went upstairs and like, here, this is my perfect.
We're
Okay,
efficient
yeah, that
here.
sounds good. Does anybody have anything that they need to ask, or?
no.
No, pretty straightforward, I think, on our end, Celestine.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Yeah, I would agree. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Celestine.
Get better.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, since we have underlined, was there anything else?
Do you vote?
I just got booted off the Wi-Fi.
That's because we don't like you.
I've been trying my best, Randy.
Did you vote?
No, I haven't been able to because I've been booted off Wi-Fi. Are you able to vote for me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm in favor.
You don't want to even waffle a little?
I'm just gonna say for the record, since I had a role in crafting the resolution, I'm just gonna abstain on this one.
Fair enough.
Okay, passed unanimously with Max abstaining.
Okay.
Great. Moving on to item 2, regular business, consideration with possible action on the election of chair and vice chair for the Green Bay Public Arts Commission. Laura, can you talk us through the timing of this?
So I know that we had just gone over this about 2 months earlier, but we had also agreed that October is going to be the election month for the Arts Commission. So during our October meetings from here on out, you guys will be electing the chair and vice chair for the next year. Since we had just done this 2 months previously, we still have to go through the process, but I don't know. I'm assuming you guys are going to continue your positions as chair and vice chair. But this is your chance to decide again.
Okay.
I think when we agreed to it, we agreed that this is what we would do. So we just need to renew those elections.
Yes.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to renew the chair and vice chair as it currently seats.
You have to call.
Unless,
Yes, I think we got to do it individually.
You have to do it individually, and you have to call 3 times for a nomination.
Oh.
So you need to nominate the chair. Who you want to
I
nominate the chair?
nominate Kelly Strickland as the chair of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission.
I'll second
One.
that.
Any?
No, Laura should be running the meeting. She should call for any other nominations.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Are there
Again,
any other nominations for chair?
Being none, you close nominations
Now I close nominations for chair.
and you vote.
Now
it
you
has to
guys
be,
vote.
oh, because I already seconded it. So, okay, yep. Now we need to
And I will
vote.
vote.
And now we
Getting
vote.
Wi-Fi.
Who seconded?
I did.
You did? Right here?
And do we need to do that on the? We can do that.
We have to do that on here too.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
Dizzy with power.
I'm just dizzy.
So I vote yes. I'm not able to vote on it.
Okay, passed unanimously.
Thank you.
And Laura, you're going to do the same thing for the vice chair.
Do I hear any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Alex Zacharias for vice chair.
Second?
Do I hear any other nominations for vice chair? Do I hear any other nominations for vice chair? I'm closing nominations for vice chair. You guys can vote.
Did someone, yeah.
If I just start over.
Oh, I see. I know why you're here now.
My kids got onto this.
Great. Are you done down there?
I'm waiting for, am I voting for you or what?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't have
Thank
the
you.
Wi-Fi.
passed unanimously.
Terrific.
You have the
The
no
regime
file.
stands.
Thank you.
Moving on to our informational section, discussion with Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Director on how the Parks Department can intersect with the Green Bay Public Arts Commission's work. This is exciting.
Fantastic. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. See, everyone has coffee, that's great. We don't bring coffee to our meetings, so.
We have another glass.
Exactly,
And lots of coffee there.
exactly. So my name's Dan Ditchite, I'm the Green Bay Parks Director. I also have Corey Mim here, she's our Parks Planner. And we've been working fairly closely with Laura over the past year or so on trying to bring art into our park system.
So we have a meeting later today, actually.
Exactly. So I'll kind of tell you what we've done to date. So we worked with her to incorporate the temporary art sculptures in several locations throughout the city. So those sculptures, have been a big hit. I know the one at the sanctuary gets a lot of attention because it's a palm tree in the middle of the sanctuary, but it's very visible from the road too. So that was a good project and kind of the kickoff project to working with the committee and Laura on bringing art into the parks. More recently, we've been working with her on sending out an RFP for the East River Trail expansion. And for those of you who aren't aware of that project, what that is there's a 1 mile section along the East River where we currently don't have a trail. And it's right through the heart of the Main Street District. And so over the past 5-6 years, we've been acquiring property and tearing down buildings in preparation for this trail connection. So we're to the point now where we have nearly all of the properties under city ownership. There's still, I think, 3 parcels left. But we're to the point now where we're starting to engineer portions of the trail and the canoe kayak launch that's part of that project. So once we get this 1 mile section of trail built, the Fox River Trail will be connected to the East River Trail, which goes down to Ledgeview, which is also connected to the Bear Creek Trail. So it'll be a regional trail system about 18 or 19 miles long going throughout the community. So this 1 mile section is a very important section. And there's a 1 block section located right on Main Street between Baird and Irwin. So the property that the city owns is right adjacent to the road. So what we'd like to do and what we've been working with Laura on is to bring in art into that trail. So the desire is, as people are driving by, to really make it a high visibility, just a really interesting space so that people are intrigued by the trail instead of just driving by and seeing a standard 10-foot wide asphalt trail. So we hired an engineering firm to design like an urban plaza space. And now what we're trying to do is to find an artist to add to that space, to enhance it and bring art into that. And what that is, we'll find out. I know that we had some submittals last week on it, and we're in the process of reviewing those submittals. And then as part of that, we also have a canoe kayak launch where we're trying to bring art into that too, because it's a portion of that trail, so we want some continuity and some unity within the artwork and the art pieces. So that's what we're working on right now. As far as funding for the artwork, that's something we don't know if we have yet. So we do have some DNR money to build a portion of the trail. I don't know if they'll fund the art portion of it. But the key is, let's find a design, find something that's intriguing, build some excitement about the project, and then see if we can come up with the money for the sculptural pieces. And, in the future, we anticipate more projects like that too coming forward, and trying to incorporate art and into a lot of different development projects moving forward. Because prior to this, we haven't done a heck of a lot in the Parks Department. Every so often, there's a little piece here or there, but we really haven't. That hasn't been a major focus in the parks until recently. So it's something we see a value. We see other large communities doing it. The public is very interested in it, so it's something that we want to try and achieve in our parks.
Awesome.
Do you have anything to add, Corey?
Yes, the first sidewalk poetry stamp is going in tomorrow. Weather dependent, but.
Where?
Jackson Square.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, some of the ones we were gonna put in this year got pulled because the paving couldn't happen due to wet conditions. So we'll have to wait till next year when we're able to do that.
And where are the other locations?
I know we had one at East River Van Beaver. I don't know.
And that was
Off the top of
around,
my head.
that was around the playground, that was just, that's being installed there.
Yeah, Fort Howard and Jefferson, we were planning to put one there, or at the new playground that's going in there. And then we're hoping like maybe once Shipyard goes in, or possibly some of the Bay Beach development. I don't know, it's all CD funded right now, some of that, so it's kind of dependent on some of the funding. So we'll see. We didn't have locations selected for all 5 areas just based on current projects. So we're planning to plan them in as we can.
Yeah. Are the parameters for the artists that they have to work under? And what type of art you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, each project is going to be, different, depending on the scope of work. So for the East River Trail project, we did set some parameters as far as what we were looking for in those proposals. And, I think in that one, we wanted continuity, we wanted kind of architectural features, we wanted something that could expand beyond just that one block section to kind of tie pieces together. I think that there were some other ones, kind of general scope of services included in that. And so, yeah, we would continue to do that in the future for any other project, but it's kind of project dependent. And some of these are going to be just standalone pieces, and other ones are going to be kind of more big picture, more kind of regional or kind of expanded projects.
And then what are you going to do about flooding? I'm kidding.
Wrong committee.
Is there any development in the, I heard some talk about Baird Creek, like having some artistic signs or anything like that?
Yeah, so over at Baird Creek, we coordinate with the Baird Creek Preservation Foundation on a lot of projects, and we team up with them. And they do everything from property acquisitions to trail maintenance to trail development. At tonight's park committee, we're going to be talking about a bike obstacle course that's going to be installed. But one other project that we're teaming up with them on is signage within the parks. And this is trail signage. So right now, we do have trail signage out there, but it's very outdated. It's not very easy to follow it, and it's not very user-friendly. So we're working with them on kind of a site-wide trail system mapping. And as part of that, we hope that some of the signage will be somewhat creative and artistic. So, some of the signage is just trail markers. You have mile marker 1 on this trail, but then we are going to have some trail entry points with some larger kiosks. And those, we're trying to make those look a little more creative, a little more interesting than just kind of a laminated sign on some wood posts. So. We're working with them on various kind of design options right now for that signage, and I think they're looking at installing that starting next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's coming along well.
Dan, would you ever be open in the future to hearing input from us about ways to increase representation in the RFPs? So I think specifically about the East River project, that's a project that would really benefit from representing the immediate surrounding community. Mm-hmm. And there are some best practices about how you go about soliciting artist RFPs that sometimes don't align exactly with the kind of traditional RFP process. And I think I think we have to think about it in our own RFP process too. I'm wondering if, as we kind of have that conversation, if that is conversation that your department is open to as well.
Yeah, we're open to that, definitely. Now, I know Laura is going to be working with you very closely on your RFPs, I'm assuming. She was very helpful to us drafting the one for the East River Trail. So we'll continue to work with Laura on these RFPs as they go out. But if we want some committee representation on that, we can definitely look into that in the future too as these come up.
Yeah, I mean, we're a resource, I think, for all departments, so, so we're here to help and provide vision however you'd like.
Great.
I think it's great that you guys are here and we're having this conversation.
Yeah, we're
because,
grateful for that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good start, and there's a lot of possibilities. As you know, most everything kind of comes to funding. If you can fund it and find the money for it, great. I mean, these are great amenities to have for the community, and we'd love to do more if at all possible.
% for the art program would definitely help with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Just curious, are there designated hours for the use of that? And is there lighting and things like that?
Sections of the trail are already lit, the existing trail. Not the entire trail, but kind of the more heavily populated areas or the heavy used areas are lit. I know that area, that one block section along Main Street, we're looking at doing some creative LED lighting to help accent the vertical elements, whatever they end up being, and just making it really visual and exciting at night as you're driving by. But we do, like I said, in kind of the downtown areas, we will have pedestrian scale lighting, and we already do on some of our trails. The Fox River Trail is completely lit up, and portions of the East River Trail are lit up. This 1 mile section, I would assume we're going to have some lighting on that. So, but yeah, the trails technically close the same time as the parks in the evening. We don't lock them up, so people, I'm sure, are walking on them in the evening, but technically all of our parks close at a designated time.
Got 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
One, is there anything in the works for replacing the sign at Ken Ewers? That sign's pretty...
Yeah, right now we just have our traditional park sign that's out there, just designating it as a city park. As you know, we've just done some recent restoration work for a waterfowl habitat nesting area, and there's no signage in that scope of work. So typically what happens is when our signs kind of fail and they start to rot out, that's when we look at replacing them, and at that point we can look at doing something different. But there is no funding right now to replace that sign.
Okay. And a while back, someone came forward to the Public Arts Commission about colored fencing and colored, is that going anywhere?
The tennis courts?
Yeah, the tennis courts.
Yeah, we haven't really done many projects since then where we could have applied anything like that. We haven't done any recolor coding for any of our tennis courts or basketball courts since that communication came in. As far as fencing goes, those colors are a very, it's more expensive to buy those real bold colors, so budget is sometimes an issue. So traditionally we go with a black fence, but on occasion we can look at the more colorful fencing if it makes sense. But other than fencing, we really haven't done many projects where that would have applied.
But it's still on your radar? So
yeah, we consider that.
And we've talked to, I've shared a few ideas for not necessarily colorizing fences, but having artistic designs or other things attached to them, more two-dimensional sculptures that could be adhered to the fence to add some sort of beautification to it. So we have kind of shared ideas.
Yeah, and we kind of looked at something for the dog park on the fencing there. I don't think it ever got implemented, but we looked at doing kind of a sculptural piece incorporated right onto the fence in the dog park there.
Are you calling that East River Trail segment Missing Link anymore, or is that?
We still do. It doesn't come up that often, but yeah, that's still the official name of it.
That's what I've been
Missing Link.
talking to people about, the Missing Link, and I'm wondering if I'm outdated there.
No, it's still,
There's always
relevant.
a missing link.
It's still relevant. It's
Okay,
still
yeah.
a missing link.
I think that project is so cool. I can't wait for it.
And someone was just asking me the other day, the West Side Trail, is that eventually going to connect up with everything, anything on the east side, or is
Well,
that,
the
you've got
ultimate,
the river in the way?
yeah, the ultimate goal for the West Side Trail, which is also the Sergeant Benjamin Ettinger Trail, the goal of that is to connect that in Howard to the Mountain Bay Trail.
So we're going to go that way more than,
And we've actually been working with Howard to try and make that connection. So they're taking some steps over the next few years to make a connection to around where Fleet Farm is. And then we are going to have to kind of extend it to meet their trail. So I would say in the next 5 years, probably, we should have that connection to the Mountain Bay Trail, which goes all the way out to Wausau and beyond, I believe. On the east side, the ultimate goal would be to connect it to the Fox River Trail. That's a little more difficult, just because there's not a lot of great corridors for that. We might have to do some modifications to the traffic lanes in order to get bike lanes in there. And then really the biggest obstacle is we have to pick one of the bridges and make some changes to the bridge to create safe crossing on the bridges. And that's where it's going to be pretty difficult to make any changes to the bridge. So, you know, that's our ultimate goal. That's kind of our wish list, but connecting to the Fox River will be difficult.
what about to the shipyard?
The shipyard, yeah, again, it'll be easier to get to the shipyard than the Fox River, because we don't have to cross the river. Yeah, ultimately we want to connect that West Side Trail to the shipyard. There will be, I'm assuming, a lot of possibilities for the shipyard with art sculptural pieces. I know we've been having a lot of discussions with the planning department on kind of the look and the feel of the shipyard and what that development's going to be. So, you know, we hope to be able to work with you a little bit on the shipyard also.
And that's all parks?
Portions of it are
Okay.
parks, not the entire thing.
Okay.
So portions are going to be designated parkland, and then portions of it will be under private property.
Okay. All private, okay. Cool. Any other projects on the periphery for the parks that GBPAC should know about?
There are always projects on the periphery, so it's kind of nonstop. You know, one thing that we could look at doing, and I don't know if this kind of ties into what your group does, but you know, over the next few years, we'd like to update a lot of our exhibits out at the wildlife sanctuary. And I don't know that if that really kind of falls into kind of the scope of work of what you'd be interested in weighing in on. But we'd like to have very vibrant, exciting, interactive displays instead of the traditional signs that you just read as you walk through.
Right.
So we're just starting that process now with looking at some options there. But you know, there's always room for, you know, small pieces here or there at various locations, such as Bay Beach Amusement Park, the Wildlife Sanctuary, and then case by case as we, you know, move into the parks. I know Navarino Neighborhood Association, they're very interested in bringing art and sculpture into Navarino Park, so maybe that's something we could look at in the future. They've already done a little bit. They did a giant Adirondack chair. They did some kind of some very artistic birdhouses. You know, we put them up on a post on display. So, you know, I could see definitely doing more items like that.
It's a big space, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of options there.
Cool.
Does programming for public performances also fall under your domain?
It doesn't. Usually all that we get involved with those type of things are renting the space to the groups.
But you don't program yourself?
We don't program it ourselves unless it's a park program. So, like for example, we have a talent show for our parking program that happens every year. But that's something that isn't quite what you're talking about, but like, I think it was the Players, I don't remember the name of the group.
Play by Play.
Yeah, it's Play by Play. So they had you know, every year, the last 2 years, they've been doing a play at Whitney Park. But again, all that we're doing and coordinating with them is renting them the space.
So you wouldn't like program a symphony to play with the fireworks or something like that?
We possibly could. You know, we haven't done too much of that at St. James Park. We do coordinate with the city band, and they have concerts every Wednesday throughout the summer at St. James Park, but that's about the extent of it. It's something we could look at doing, but it's not, typically something like that hasn't been something that's been funded by the Parks Department in the past. It's more been the Celebrations Committee, which, is, each year that the funding for that kind of goes down and down, so.
There's a celebrations committee.
I don't know much about that.
I'm wondering if, this is kind of off topic, but if there was any kind of digital navigational information that's, people come into town and you can just kind of learn about areas or, a sculpture being made, they can just navigate through.
Well, I think one thing that might be a good possibility with that is working with the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They're fundraising to build a brand-new facility just off of Lombardi Avenue, I believe. And that would be a great idea for their building when that gets completed. Because it'd be a kind of a destination place as people are just coming to the city.
And I have a meeting actually scheduled within the next 2 weeks, I believe, with someone from the CBP.
But aren't they technically in Ashwaubenon? Doesn't that create jurisdictional problems again, like we had with?
They aren't requesting a grant. They're inquiring about a public art tour, focusing in Green Bay.
Right,
So
okay.
they're actually, they want to collaborate on really filling out that information so that they can give it to people.
That's kind of a cool idea, though. I've been went to a city in Georgia that had an app for their parks department, and it just elaborately laid out all the cool parks, and you click on them, and it just highlights what's cool in that park, and it made navigating the parks like super, super easy and more exciting, so.
And we've started to implement that on the city webpage. We're not quite to that extent yet.
With an app, yeah.
But about a year ago, what we did is we actually inserted an interactive map on our website. So you can click on any park and it goes specifically to that park webpage. And you can see pictures of that park and then it kind of clicks on the rental information for it.
So there's an interactive map component on there?
Yeah, I mean, where you click on the actual park.
Yeah.
And then it just takes you to a page with the photos of that park.
Okay.
So we just implemented that within the last year.
Cool.
We do want to do more with our website like that.
Yeah.
I think the app is definitely an interesting feature. I can look into that definitely. 'Cause,
Yeah.
it's always a good idea when you can get information out there
Right.
easily to people.
Accessible.
Is our webpage phone friendly?
Yes.
Yeah, when you go on your phone, it's all formatted properly.
Cool.
Anything else for Dan?
We need to open up the floor, technically.
Yeah, can I have a motion to open the floor?
Motion to open the floor.
Second.
Seconded by Kent. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. My name is Jerome Burnett.
And your address, please?
Huh?
Your address, please?
My address?
Your name and address,
Oh.
For the record.
for the record.
Jerome Burnett, 1783 Grand Street, Deep Pier. My question, since I have the council and the Parks Department here, is on the East River Trail Plaza. I did make a submission to it, and I just would like some clarification because I did have a team submission, and basically the response that I got was very vague at the most, and that's what I gave to my fellow art members of the team, and it was like, okay, we're kind of wondering where the project was. I know that there was no specific budget given in that, and I know ours was extremely high as far as the budget, but I did ask several times, and they had mentioned that it was, like you had mentioned, subject to acquisition of funds. That's why I feel that we went very large, but I think that area and that project, that is very important area. It is a very culturally diverse area, And I'm just wondering where we're at with that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we can reach out to you and have
Okay.
you know, lengthier conversation one-on-one. I don't know if that really ties into this agenda item or not.
Ties into the next one.
So, I think it's more appropriate for the next agenda item
Okay.
to talk about it at that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
If you have specific questions for the parks, related to the parks, then you can ask those now, but
Okay.
that would wait for the next item.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great.
Motion to close the floor.
Can we just keep it open because it's gonna come up with the next agenda item?
I don't know. We can do that.
Right, because we're not voting on anything.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Great, so any other questions for Dan on how the Parks Department can intersect with the Green Bay Public Art Commission's work?
Dan, this is cool, thank you for.
Yes, thank you for your time,
You're
Dan.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Appreciate
moving,
you coming and parking here for a while.
Had to get it in.
moving on to the next agenda item, update on the East River Trail Plaza project. Laura?
I'm glad you guys are still here. We received 6 submissions total, correct?
It was 5.
5, my bad. We had received 5 submissions total for the East River Trail Plaza project, and we reviewed them last week. Park staff and myself went over and reviewed them, and we felt, after reviewing, I know we were supposed to bring them to you guys today so that you could select, but after reviewing what we had received, we felt that they didn't make best use of that space. The submissions that we had received, they didn't fully utilize the space, which was something that we were looking for, was to really branch out and really explore that whole plaza area. So at the moment, we have decided to not move forward with any of the submissions we'd received. I don't know yet if we're going to resubmit a call. That's something that Parks Department and I still need to talk about, is if we're going to resubmit a call or look internally for a design proposal for that space.
Laura, did the submissions that you receive illuminate for you perhaps things you wish you had included in the call? You know what I mean? Sometimes when you put something out and then you get a response to it, you kind of realize, oh, I didn't articulate some things you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was like, oh, we should have included this. Or
Yeah.
we should have really highlighted that this was important. That definitely is something that came forward after seeing all the submissions we had received. It also was a fairly short turnaround time. It was, I think we had released it beginning of September, and then it had closed about the beginning of October. So it was really only a month that submission period was open, which is fairly short for a project like that. So I think if we are going to release another call, it will be for a longer period of time, and really touching back on those points that we wished were highlighted more, and as you had mentioned earlier, really focusing on reaching those diverse communities.
And also my recollection is that there was no suggested range of budget, which I think sometimes artists take as a cue about the scale of the project. Did you feel like that might have been, I understand that the funding of it is tricky, but I'm trying to figure out how do you signal to the artist what the scale of the project is that you're looking for?
Yeah, and that's not in my realm. That's
Yeah.
something that Parks Department and I would need to work on, is figuring out how to best leave it open, but yet not over-promising and not under-serving.
So I think if we just think psychologically about where the artists are coming from, they're gonna say, oh, it's a city, it's a municipal proposal, right? So it's going to benefit me to kind of make this affordable, especially if there's no description of what the real scale of the project is. And when you start to use kind of abstract language like explore the area, well, that could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And so I wonder if that might be a question that somehow needs to be answered. If a dollar amount can't be attached, how are we communicating really the depth and breadth of the kind of proposals that you're looking for, if you feel like they didn't go far enough, because again, artists are gonna see that municipal piece of it and be like, oh, this is gonna, especially for, they're going to think like, I wanna keep this small and manageable, I wanna keep it bite-sized. And so what's the right way to say?
Yeah, I think having a little bit more of specifics on the call would definitely help. Like from my perspective as an artist, seeing things that are a little bit vague will push me away from applying to something like that. But I realize, like in other contracting world circles, that's kind of the rule of thumb, is like you give them a parameter and then you don't really give too many specifics on the dollar amount. But in the art world, it is a little bit different. So I think if we could, if we're not going to accept any of these and move forward, I would specifically, if this is going to be like an art type of thing, it would look good on the city if we did another call that maybe provided a little bit more specifics on what we're looking for, the context, and potential dollar amount. Like, even if it's not there, we don't have the dollar for it yet, we don't have the budget, but just giving it a range helps provide a foundation for the artists to develop a proposal.
Yeah, if we give that range and we don't end up having those funds right away, and we select the art piece, that gives an opportunity to fundraise for that specific project, which is so much easier to do
Definitely.
than just funding for a program. If you've got
Yes.
a pretty picture of something that we hope to do with those dollars. So-
Also, artists are ingenious at scaling back, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Or
if,
scaling up,
if
yeah.
or scaling up. I mean, that's the other thing, is that even as a starting place, and it turns out that's not what the number is that's working, that you can, I think you'll see ingenious adjustments.
Yeah, and there's definitely an art and science. My wife dabbles and she does surveys and all that. It's knowing how to ask those questions. There's a language, so that you can get that response that you're looking for. So I don't know if there's a department other than within the city that can help you create that language to ask those questions, so you can get those answers. Believe me, there's a science to that, because my wife gets paid pretty well for that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, they're paying you to ask those questions, all right. So, but it's how you ask them to get that information. There's a science behind that, so.
Also, the portals. Did we look into publicart.org or to Cafe? And,
Those cost money,
yeah.
and we don't have money.
But I think, like, I guarantee you, we'd have more than 5.
It's
We'd
definitely
probably
on our
have,
radar
like,
to
double digits or-
use those.
Yeah.
And my recollection was that actually at the last update meeting, prior to our last commission meeting, that there was a window identified for when we were gonna start using those. I mean, they were not huge dollar amounts to register for the portals.
I don't remember you guys,
No, this was in a meeting with Celestine and.
I know we had mentioned it, but I don't think there was any official do it at this date. At least I'm not aware of if that was discussed.
Well, if it needs to be an item that we pass to allocate dollars, I think we should put
It's
that on the next.
absolutely.
agenda.
When we get that next financial summary,
Next
we should
meeting?
do that, yeah.
Yeah, because that will definitely boost the vision, or just the platform for who sees it. Like people from out of state will see it, and that would behoove, I think, all of our efforts moving forward if we have the access to those portals for all of the calls.
It will legitimize the calls.
Does the parks want to weigh in on this conversation at all?
Yeah, so, yeah, we do feel that, this is a very visible location where we would love to incorporate artwork into this. The submittals, as Laura said, weren't quite what we were envisioning or looking for, so we are going to be putting out another RFP for artwork. So I think your input here, I think, is valuable to, kind of refine the scope of work a little bit more and maybe give a little more clearer direction to the artists. So I think that these are all great comments, and we'll incorporate them moving forward, so.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, the intention here is getting a very visible, high-impact, artistic urban plaza with a trail going through it. That's what our vision is, so we would like to see that happen if at all possible, so.
Great. So we will consider another proposal then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And if you have more specific questions, you're definitely, you can definitely reach out to either Corey or Laura and, you know, get some more specific answers to your questions. I'd be more than happy to work with you on that.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other commentary on the East River Trail Plaza project?
Can you make a motion to close it for?
Oh, yeah. Matt made a motion to close. Any
Second.
I got it.
Kent beat you to it.
Yeah, he did.
Do we have to vote on closing the floor?
Yes.
All in favor of voting to close the floor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Great. Okay, our,
Oh, they want us to do it. Do you want us to do it?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
my thing went dark. I think it died.
But
You broke it.
There we go. All right. Chairperson's report and project updates. The only two things I had, and I think Laura will answer this question, but I wanted to get clarity on both the completion of the financial update that we were to be receiving on a regular basis and confirm the timing of that. So where we are, I think that there were some questions about formatting, really, like we weren't seeing it exactly the way we were going to see it. So we were expecting some edits on that, and then when we'll see it next. And then the other project update is, I wondered, Laura, if it might benefit us, and maybe this is a conversation in advance of our next meeting, but when we discuss the scope of work, or the scope outlined in the charter of the PAC, the programs themselves, we had the rotating art pads and we had the granting. I wonder if we need, in order to be better prepared for these quick turnaround projects, if we need to add something about these, I think we've been referring to them as like the showcase pieces. Because even though sometimes the funding isn't coming from the commission, and this is what I don't understand about kind of the right way to go about this from the city's perspective. We need to have kind of ready to go, like a library of these showcase pieces, right? Because what we've seen happen is that someone comes forth and there's an opportunity and it's quick. And so I don't know what the right way to articulate what that is, or how it relates to the charter itself in terms of, you know, our responsibilities as a group. But I think we need to be clear about what that is, as opposed to relying on kind of a new round of research in response to an opportunity coming available. Do you know what I'm saying?
So are you saying we just need literature behind the showcase? Like what parameters the showcase piece is and how to implement something really quickly?
Yes, I think that's part of it. And I think, but it's also related to fundraising. So part of Matt's comment earlier about it's much easier to fundraise for an actual thing. I think as our fundraising efforts gear up, we need to look at sort of the work of the commission with a slightly expanded. So maybe it's just our documentation. I don't know if that relates to the charter. When I asked specifically about, okay, is this the lane that we're in, right? The rotating art pads and the granting. We're sort of finding ourselves in collaborative communications with other commissions, but also, you know, turning around quickly, here are some ideas. I think that those ideas need to be kind of cataloged, identified. How would we do this quickly? Where is it coming from? So that we don't just end up moving forward with something that seems like the lowest hanging fruit, and we're really tackling things that are thoughtful and meaningful to our community specifically. Am I articulating this?
I think so.
I feel like,
Like, we've provided all these opportunities for artists to create work.
Yeah.
You know, even if they aren't physical, tangible pieces of work, they've been thoughtfully created and handcrafted for our call for proposals. So, if we could create a database of those things and just have them easily accessible, like, look, we had someone propose this for this space, this for this space, this for this space, kind of thing. I definitely think that's valuable, but also I think if someone does step forward with some money, we should do a call for art specifically for those dollars, you know? So, as opposed to having them cherry pick and hand select one of the past proposals.
from previous submissions.
Yeah, I think from the municipal perspective, that's the appropriate thing to do, is to make sure the public knows that this money came in and to give the public at least the opportunity to throw new proposals at it. But we could also potentially mix in some of those old proposals with that batch of new ones, if an entity really has an opinion about one favorably. So we could do that. We could provide that to the donors. Does that make sense?
It does. I think probably this, I guess the logical kind of next step about this is for Laura, you to go back and kind of think about how this would look in our literature and maybe talk to Celestine, like, does this live in our charter, or, you know, how are we representing to the community that this is something that we're actually doing? And so when folks are out there fundraising, they realize that there is the capacity to do such things, and how are we telling that story? And I don't know exactly where that intersects with all the rules.
Sure.
And, right?
One thing I will say about that, so our department has created an outreach team this past year, which Laura is a part of, and it's that group's role to kind of tell our story as a department, the things that we are accomplishing. And public art is a huge part of that. So we've been creating new literature, updating our website, Facebook, social media, that kind of stuff. So I think that kind of falls within.
With the
Yeah,
showcase.
that's a piece of it too. Yeah, for sure. There's the telling of the story. There's the actually having the executable, just being good at moving quickly on these things.
Yeah, we definitely have the infrastructure for the annual grants program, the rotating arts program, but we haven't really thoroughly developed the infrastructure to develop the showcase projects. So is that in the packet, Laura, or is that something that came after the packet?
I mean, it's mentioned briefly, it doesn't outright say showcase pieces, but it's outlined in the budget that we are intending to put money towards these kind of more high-profile,
So we've started.
large-scale pieces.
That's good.
Yeah.
But there's no, I think, kind of what you're looking for is like an outlay of like, this is the showcase program, and this
Right.
is what it could do, this is some of the things that we've received. Because I don't know about you guys, I haven't received any like, hey, I have this showcase idea, like,
Yeah.
I haven't received that from artists. So if you're getting those, like, get them in contact with me, because I don't have any of that information to put in that packet.
No, I don't think anyone's here. I mean, I say these RFPs happen, right? They sort of happen through parks, they happen through here, and these proposals are coming in. So we do have these artist contact information. We do have work that has been put in by artists, and so to some extent, it's, you know, traditionally the city would then kind of catalog those and.
I have an artist database, and we do have a catalog that's developed.
Like
and-
the WPS, all of the other submissions, you know, like all of that work, like that, whatever, how many came in for that one, like even those would work for it.
Yeah, so
All
I
of
think
us
you do
would-
have these.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of just creating a program, so to speak, even though it is, but it isn't. It's not like a program in the way that the grant program is.
It's like an ad hoc program.
Kind of, but
Yeah.
we could still have a rack card or something to kind of speak to what we've done with WPS and with other donors and how we've collaborated with these partners to create pieces, and there's an opportunity for others to do that.
what I have seen come up in Art Cafe is calls for rolling showcase-like programs. Like, because like a city like, Denver or something gets so much dollars coming in, from unexpected places, and they need to have a catalog for this purpose. And so they'll just do like one every year or two every year. Well, they'll just kind of like, what's your ideas? We're not going to pay for your ideas, but if one gets selected, then you potentially could. So it's like, from my perspective, I don't really apply to those because there's not anything reciprocated. But if there was like maybe, if your idea gets accepted out of like 1 out of, or 10 out of 100 submittals or something like that, then you get $1,000 for your, for that proposal development or something like that.
I also think it's laying the groundwork for the Dollar for the Arts program, because ultimately what you would expect from that program is that sometimes developers will say, no, I'm going to oversee this entire required art program, and they're going to try to convince you that their benches are art. I mean, that's going to be one path that you're going to see. And then the other one is going to be, you know what, I'm just going to write you a check, like, give me some art. And so we need these things in place to sort of be able to do this quickly. Quickly and quickly when the time comes, having put the thought in ahead of time, so that we're not trying to put the thought into it when the turnaround of the project comes. I think it's just a slight expansion of kind of our scope of work and really giving language to it and making us partner ready. We're not really, every partnership right now is starting from scratch. That's what it is.
So maybe just investigating what the infrastructure for a showcase program would look like and cataloging some of the stuff that's already come in the past.
Yeah, I would defer to Laura in combination with staff to kind of think about what's appropriate to accomplish those things.
Does that make sense, Laura?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's all I had. Moving on to the coordinator's report and project update.
So for my coordinator's report, I know Kelly had mentioned, with the recent agenda, where the financial report was. And back in August, we had given that initial report, which you guys had kind of reviewed. I don't remember you requesting any other edits to it. I think it was all right information-wise, if I'm correct. If there are edits that you wanted to see, I can put them in. But then you had asked to have it quarterly. So speaking with Stephanie, she had recommended that we start at the beginning of the year, just so you can kind of see where you're at and kind of where you can go during that next year. So we didn't outright say when those were going to be given, so I'm just proposing a financial report schedule for our upcoming meetings, starting with January, and then having them every 3 months.
Is it possible to do one every month, or is it just not make sense to do that?
You don't have enough activity. You'd probably get a lot of the same reports. So that's why quarterly would probably work better, because unless there's something big, she could always bring anything big to you, but otherwise you're not making many changes.
So why wouldn't we align the schedule with our grant allotment schedule?
So I actually looked that up because I knew you were going to ask about it. You guys had decided to do a trimester grant, so you're getting more reports this way compared to a trimester. The way that the grant period works out, you'll be reviewing grants in April, August, and December. So I know that those don't line up exactly with these financial reports. One of them does, but then the other two follow that report, which might actually be more helpful because the previous month that's where we were, and now we're giving out grants the following month. I'm open to adjusting this if you guys want it more on a trimester compared to a quarterly.
That makes sense.
And you're going to want to keep your one in January. for the simple fact that Laura's gonna have reporting to do for tax purposes, and January, you're gonna look at that report and you're gonna say, yes, everything's good for the close of that year. That gives her the okay to then work on getting that financial, it's your 990, it's your IRS form submitted, but you're okaying that the close of that financial period.
Right.
So you want to keep the January one for sure, so that way it gives us the, okay, everything's good, we can go back, we can look at everything, get it all prepared, so that that submission can go out.
So this is a slightly irregular schedule that I'm proposing here, but does it make sense to do January, April, August, December? So that we're getting that January look, and then we're also getting it hand in hand with the grant proposals.
Do we need it hand in hand with the grant proposal?
I think we do.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, so that we know exactly how much we have right before we're about to give.
But if we got it the month before, we're not gonna be spending any money.
Well, I mean, right before, is that aligning with the exact same month?
What I'm suggesting
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would be proposing that it's the month before?
Yeah, because we wouldn't be spending money, we know what we have, and then we're not,
I guess either one would be
I
okay.
guess
I
not
mean-
that they're not drawing Laura's salary down from it, because that was part of the update that,
Laura's salary no longer, well,
Right.
that comes out of CDBG, so you guys really don't have a say in that one anymore, because that's handled through a different program.
Different program.
yeah.
right, but it was one of the things that was changing the financial statement for the commission.
Right.
Yep.
It was.
So to change so that it's always 1 month ahead of the grant proposals, January, March, June, and November? Is that what you're suggesting, Randy?
That or just, you know,
Yeah, to go with
Because
either.
then we're getting a finance report on October and we're granting in December. I just don't know why we wouldn't get these two reports at the same time. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, we can do it the trimester, it's just the January one, I think would be more for my purposes then.
Yeah. No, we'll do the January one, but then we'll also align. them.
January, April, August, December.
Yeah.
Which sounds slightly
That's-
goofy, but we're doing January because we need January.
Yes.
And we're doing April, August, December so that we always get the proposals at the same time as the financial snapshot. Otherwise, I think part of what we would have to request in addition to the grant proposals is a financial snapshot.
That sounds good to me. That makes sense.
Matt?
That sounds fine to me too, unless, I mean, I usually defer to accountants with accounting type things. So if there's a strong reason why we need to be doing this quarterly rather than,
My only suggestion would be is December's a bad month to do that. You have year-end wrap-up. And also, you want to make sure that if you're setting a budget, you want to set that in November. So you probably want to know financially where you are in November, so you can approve that budget. So that would be my only tweak to that schedule. Is
Okay.
because December, you have to have your budget approved before the end of the year. And if you have any questions, you want anything changed, to do it on the fly, you might not be able to see it again before it has to be implemented. So if you do it in November, your default is then if something doesn't pass, you want to tweak a budget, you have then December to still do that. So I would maybe move your last one of the year
To November.
to November so that you can see, I mean, that way you kind of know where you're coming into the end of the year.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm good.
January.
January,
April.
April, July, November.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sounds the most relevant. With the schedule lining and then the preparation for December.
And then we would just need to, say that for the grant reviews in August and December, we would need to be aware of any changes in the financial situation since the last report the month before. That would just have to be a part of the packet, Laura, that goes out for review.
I'm sorry, can you go over that one more time?
So if they're January, April, July, and November, so we're hearing that January and November are important for the financial cycle.
Right.
April and July, really at this point, are just
Aligning with that.
holdovers. When we review grants in August and December, part of what we would need as a part of our review packet would be any changes in financial position since the previous month.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Does this make sense to you? or- Yeah.
And what we can do too is for your, is it July, the July one? We can also do like encumbered amounts. Encumbered amounts are like if you say, oh, I'm gonna give Randy $1,000, well, he hasn't spent his $1,000. You can put an encumbrance on there. It means that it's money that has to be set aside and held.
Right.
So we can always add that to
Okay.
your, so that way when you see when you get your financial report,
Yeah.
and you see it, you know, oh, well, we have $6,000, but there's $1,000 that's encumbered,
It's
so we
not
really only
accessible.
have $5,000 to spend.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
I gave you $1,000 last month.
Thank you for that, Laura.
Yeah, great.
That's it for my report, really. The next meeting is gonna be December 4th. At our last meeting, we had discussed, since the holidays and everything, rather than having a meeting in November and December, we're just gonna have the one meeting, beginning of December.
Bingo.
Excellent.
Yes.
G-B-A-C.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Anything else I'm forgetting before we adjourn? No? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
From Randy and then Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.